What's up guys, Lexus Overland here. Let's check our transmission fluid level. Pardon my quite messy engine bay. I wheel this truck in mud a lot. It's a East Coast thing, unfortunately. But luckily on the 98 to 2002 100 series Land Cruiser and LX470, essentially the same thing, we have a dipstick for our transmission so we can check the fluid. Now in 03 and up, I'm pretty sure they removed the dipstick when they switched over to the 5-speed, which you get a 5-speed, but it is nice to be able to easily check your fluid. So the procedure for this is to get the transmission up to temperature, have the vehicle running in park, and check the fluid level using the dipstick. So let's get started. So the way that I read my transmission fluid temp is using a scan gauge. I was able to code in the transmission fluid's temp sensor using Xcode, and I will post those values below. So with that, it displays my transmission temp all the time, so I'm able to monitor it while towing or going up hills or wheeling, whatever you want. Ways to heat up your transmission fluid temperature are obviously to drive around, but you can also put the vehicle into drive, hold the brake, and rev the gas. The reason that heats up the transmission fluid temp is because of the torque converter, which will be shearing the fluid, which increases the temperature. So if you're sitting while you're checking and the transmission temperature is going down a little bit, you can do that trick. I don't recommend it too much because it's a little bit of stress on the system, but it does work. So as you can see, I currently have my foot on the brake and the gas just slightly on, and the temperature is rising. So I'm going to get that up to above 130, and I'm going to place the vehicle back into park and go check the fluid level on the dipstick. Alright, so we have pulled the transmission dipstick out, wiped it off, put it back in, and here's the fluid level. So the upper 2 notches is for hot, the lower 2 notches is for cold. It's generally recommended to do this while your engine is hot, or the transmission temperature is hot. As you can see, my fluid level is right where it needs to be, just below full. Make sure to do that while it's running and in park, or else you'll get an incorrect measurement. I have shut off the engine so it's not competing with me noise-wise. So let's talk a little bit about your transmission fluid level. Let's say that you have drained the transmission fluid, gotten about 2 to 4 quarts out, but you didn't exactly measure it and you're not sure how much to put in or how to put it in. This is how you put it in. You can get a funnel and just pull out the dipstick, stick that on there, and pour it in slowly. Do that until the fluid level is where you need to be. Important thing to do when checking fluid level while adding is to cycle between drive and reverse to get that fluid kind of flowing through the system, because the automatic transmissions have many parts to them, and that's why you can only get about 4 quarts out at a time, even though the entire system has something like 18 quarts. So just make sure that you're cycling through reverse and drive after adding fluid to get that all cycled through, and then come back after you put it in park, check the fluid level. And let's say that you've overshot, you've added too much fluid. What you can do is you can get one of these fluid extractors that has like a small hose and stick it all the way down the dipstick and actually suck fluid out. That to me is a lot cleaner than going underneath and pulling the drain plug and letting a little bit out. It's just an easier way to do it. So if you overshoot, that's the way to fix it. So you've just done a drain and fill of your transmission, which will net you about 2 to 4 quarts removed, depending on if you pull the pan or not. And we'll talk about what you'll experience right after doing that and putting new fluid in. If you put fluid in exactly as it should, using the procedure I've described, it's right where it needs to be, you will notice an immediate improvement in shift quality, which is awesome. If you have added too much fluid, you will have hard shifts. And if you've not added enough fluid, you will have slipping. So the transmission will feel like it's slipping getting into gear. So it's very important to have the correct fluid level, and it's important to follow the procedure that I've just described, as it's really the only way that you can do this and get an accurate reading on the level. In terms of fluid, I'm a big fan of Mobil Synthetic ATF for my 98 to 02 100 series. It's readily available, well priced, and it's Mobil 1 synthetic fluid. You really can't go wrong. If you have an 03 and up, I believe it requires this Toyota ATF WS fluid, and these, to my knowledge, are not compatible. So don't buy this if you have an older 100 series or a newer 100 series, because it will break your transmission or something. All right, well, that's a basic overview of how to check your transmission fluid level in a 98 to 02 100 series. I believe that the principle applies to most automatic transmission vehicles with dipsticks, so hopefully this can help other people too. I know it's not the most complicated process, but it's important to get it right. So yeah, I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.